Welcome, finally, to the live stream, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host today, Bumpy McSquigums, joined by Cupogoodness and a tiny disaster, which is great. Cupogoodness and a tiny I'm sorry. It's always enjoyable. Hello, folks. How are you today?
We're just so glad to be back. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a few 100,000 years, I think.
I've had enough time off to be rejuvenated. Last week was good. We could have done last week. So I was ready.
You broke everything last week. The whole world was at your mercy, and you showed none.
The whole world has been ganging up on me since that point. Then you started it, I think, but
that's fine.
Neither here nor there.
I accept this and move on.
Let's see.
All right.
I'm opening up our channels. YouTube.
Hello. We are going to be talking about Steam, the best of 2021, and the Steam Next Fest, though we're probably going to talk about it in reverse order because Cup likes to make our lives miserable. No, I'm kidding. He figured we could relax talking about the best of 2021 according to, I guess, Steam Analytics, Steam criteria. I don't what would be the word, statistics, I guess,
for the top best of 2021. Yeah, they're basically just showing us what games made the most money on their site. But as I think we were discussing before, some of the categories help that a little bit in terms of dictating, knowing that game just was successful because of, its base game or whatever, versus like some of these games where you're like, they're top because of in-app purchases and DLC times a trillion, and they're just like embedded into or even a subscription, or what do you call it, the game pass or the pass season pass models and stuff like that. So that those kind of games that are successful with those models are going to be at the top of the main areas most of the time. But we have the best new games and a couple other categories that I think help delineate a little bit. So we'll see how that goes. And then, yes, I'm talking about some Steam Next Fest to start the day, to start the show off, because we're personally all interested in Steam Next Fest as developers or developer adjacent people and companies. So, yeah, do you want to jump into that first, or do we want to anything else we want to talk about before we head into our topics today?
You're not going to explain how and why you broke Discord last week? No, I'm kidding.
Oh. We weren't on last week because Discord was not working, and Discord was being Dorscord at the time and was not working. And then we were thinking about kind of just trying to work it out on another chat app, but it was just our format is all based off of the Discord, video chat, and so. We just said, you know what, we will just postpone this for a week. It's not a big deal, and we'll get back on track at that point. Bumpy at that point was being buried in snow, still probably is.
It's gonna be again Friday, so tomorrow's gonna be awful.
So we let him shovel his walk as needed, versus having to push through with a technical issue laden kind of show.
Yes, the only time I get to shovel apparently is like 4 or 5 in the morning, so that's super fun. It's like, I'm really tired. I want to go to bed. Nope, gotta go shovel.
Oof.
Anyway, so Steam Next Fest continues to boost engagement and sales for most games in 2021. So this was, is this just like a Steam document? It looks like it.
Oh, what we're reading here?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like a blog post from Valve, or I mean, not quite that. It's a news post. The other one's a Steam actual blog post. But Steam's weird. They have multiple different things that you're like, this is all just could be on like the same, blog or newsletter or whatever. So it's basically a newsletter, but it's like a publicly available one that you can see. Some of their stuff is behind the developer wall, where you can only see it if you have a developer account and access to that, and so you'd have to like log into your account to access certain articles. But these ones, the ones we're going to look at today, are publicly available, and we can share those in chat, which I will do now.
Indeed.
I'll share the other one when we get into it, but the first one we're doing right now is the Steam Next Fest continues to boost engagement and sales for most games in 2021. The February event registration opened through December 6th, so obviously that's closed at this point. If you wanted to be in the next Steam Next Fest, you're going to have to be in the Steam Next Fest, because it's not going to be this one.
The next Steam Next Fest.
Right, yes. I like both of ours. They were both
That's
good.
good. Very confusing.
Um,
Oh no.
February. I think late February is what the dates are for the next one. I can't remember exactly. I think it's maybe mentioned in this article somewhere. But anyway, um, when that goes again, it's going to give us more data to see if this is backed up. This current data that we're showing from the latest Steam Next Fest points to really positive signs in terms of encouraging developers to find a way to, you know, line up their announcements, their trailer releases, their new gameplay, streams that you can do for new gameplay, and or a demo. And that maybe that last one is maybe the most important out of the things that I just mentioned. But I mean, obviously, it's all kind of a package deal.
Yeah,
But
I have a problem with the Next Fest, and a lot of people do. I just want to address this at the start because I feel like they need more Next Fests, and they need to
yeah,
cut the amount of people that are available to participate
so
because it's just what
yeah,
choice paralysis, right? There's 75,000 demos to download that's available only for a limited time, and
and
you
and
just
that's
can't
a
play them.
great point. That's a great point. I read something recently that was talking about how a lot of keen developers, a lot of really clever developers are leaving their demos up past the Steam Next Fest because they realize that a lot of these content creators that are like maybe jotting the game down on the list just don't get to the demo in time a lot of times because of the Steam Next Fest just expiring and then everybody pulling their demos off. So it's actually like a you know good intelligent thing to do to
Eh.
leave your demo up if you're I think it is though. I
I
honestly do,
agree that
especially
it is, but there's a problem with that. That defeats the whole point of the Next Fest in general. So
well
the
what do
whole
you
point
what
of
do you
Next
mean?
Fest is Steam wants you to have your demo up for a limited time so you participate in this thing. You're
But
I don't
Steam
know if
doesn't
you're
care. They're
I
not gonna
know,
hold you to that or anything like
but
that.
that's kind of a I don't know, a systemic problem in general. People don't want to obey the rules because that is one of the rules. I remember reading about Next
Let me
Fest.
ask you this though. Who is that actually affecting if you leave your demo up? Like, is that affecting anybody like in any way negatively? Like is anyone gonna notice, hey, this demo's up longer than it should be? Woo! Sound the alarm,
I
red alert.
mean,
Like I don't think that's gonna
I'm
happen,
curious.
right?
And followed the rules of like you're allowed to have a demo up outside of it. So how is it
Anytime,
that you
right.
have to have it? So if you
They
had a demo up with
you
Next Fest, you'd have to take it down by the rules?
here's
you
what I'll
do.
say. You do not need to take your demo down if you're in part of Steam Next Fest. You cannot put your demo up like say like pre Next Fest and then say check out this new demo like and just be really duplicitous about it and be like no your demo's been up for a while and stuff. This is not the same. But I honestly think I would have to go through the registration form, which I think if I do that right now and click on it, it's going to say it's not open anymore. But let me see. But I honestly think that yeah, the deadline for opt-in has passed. Eligibility associated with Steamworks, right? Visible on Steam is coming soon at the time of registration. To include a publicly playable demo by the time the festival begins. To be released between February 28th, 2022 and September 1st, 2022. So some of these parameters, Bumpy, are helping out in terms of, people could lie about the release date, I guess, but at least it reduces a little bit because a lot of people won't. And they'll be like, oh, well, my game's not going to be available by this time. Each game can participate in, as we know, one Steam Game Festival or Steam Next Fest. So you get one for a product now. So if you want to pick the one that you feel like is the most momentum building at the right time. Hopefully and they set that up too because they have the release between February and September. That's basically September's as long as you'd want to be. You'd probably lose momentum between now and then anyway if you didn't have other events in between. So I mean, we might agree to disagree on this one, Bumpy. I don't think you have to have a demo
Well, the
specifically
whole
for.
thing with Next Fest is demo is available for a limited time. That is literally the way it works. That is their crux of the entire system. So
Say that somewhere.
whenever it's launching, it says get these demos available only while blah 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 is going on. So
I just think that
whenever it launches, check it out because that's the whole idea behind that. You have this limited window to check out all these games. That's why they're featured so heavily. It's so they
okay.
only
Well,
have the demo available.
it might be a hack, like an indie hack, but I
Yeah.
think it's something that you can consider, and I personally don't think there's anything like morally or ethically wrong with it.
Well,
But
it's like the people that run live stream loops on the big festivals where they're supposed to actually be live.
I feel like that's a lot different because, like, with the demo, maybe I'm iterating a demo, right? So maybe my demo is different, pre the festival, during the festival, and post the festival. I made 3 different updates or 3 additional,
and that's fine.
kind of things.
Yeah,
I'm looking at the press releasey kind of event announcement for the October one, and it just says 700 brand new demos to play through.
And that's kind of how I feel about it. I feel like I would want, when you start the festival, you'd want to present something new. That's the most important thing to me. Yeah. You have to present a new trailer at the very least. And it sounds like nowadays, it's just like you have to have a demo. So with that in mind, you don't want a demo, again, that has been around for a while, that hasn't seen an update or an addition of new level or change. It depends on the game, of course. But definitely a demo is required for this thing, it seems like now.
Yeah.
And then the whole elements of live streaming is really important as well.
And something that they're not pushing so much in this, but the thing I wanted to mention though, back to the original point is you're supposed to take it down. That doesn't mean you can't put it back up later, and that's what a lot of developers did, and I feel that's the right way to do it. You're not supposed to just leave it up, because again, that's kind of the whole thing.
That.
But it makes us as content creators struggle, because generally I'm super busy anyway, but you can only do so many things, and you have a limited time in which to do it. So I wish there was a bigger cutoff of less people and more of the actual fests.
But obviously in lieu of that situation fixing itself and being better, which is I don't know if it's going to happen. I do, there is concern about if I pull my demo off right when the festival's over, like I am supposed to, and then there's a bunch of content creators like yourself that are like, oh, the demo's gone, and then they might not see it again when I put it back up. So there's just some
keeping the demo up would help content creators. I'm not sure how it's an issue.
Well, it would, but it's against what they're trying to do. Again, the whole point of the Steam Next Fest is we have a brand new demo. Here's the demo, and you have to have a demo. That is one of the requirements. It's available for a limited time, so it builds that hype. It's the, oh no, fear of missing out. You got to rush and check out all these things, and that's all you hear is that it's a limited.
But that's
time.
Like a facade in situations all the time. You know what I mean? So it's really up to who cares. And if Valve doesn't care, then that's really all that matters to me as a developer.
Unless change the wording.
Unless the players are like, this is stupid, and are upset in my community, then at that point I'd be like, oh, maybe I should listen to this is a rally around this idea, this idea that I didn't realize, kind of thing. So, anyway, it is what it is. I think that the Steam Next Fest in general is ever evolving and nowhere near perfect, as we know. So as we've just talked about. So,
seeing how successful it's being by the fact that Steam is doing more of them, it's obviously making Steam more money with each one they do, because they keep adding, and it's clearly something they want to continue with. So.
And it's a rare opportunity for an indie developer to take advantage of Steam's algorithmic system and how it works and how you can benefit from it. But there's just so few opportunities normally to do that. And so it's flawed and potentially broken at times, but it's really important, because we see that based on the stats of this article, that you get more people wishlist in general if your game is in the Next Fest versus if it's not. Wishlists continued after the event, so you get a higher rate of daily average wishlists even after the Next Fest is over, which is definitely a good thing. It's hard to find opportunities to make that go up and stay, you know what I mean, at a higher rate. That's not easy to do. So when you get an opportunity to do that, you definitely want to take advantage. Wishlists made during the fest still converted. The median released game saw an increase of 500% in converting wishlists made during Next Fest compared to converting wishlist additions made in the 2 weeks leading to Next Fest, if that makes sense.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is. Because a lot of people thought that this wishlist stuff with the demos were very low value. It was they're just doing that because it's part of the the draw, or part of the system that they're involved. A lot of these demos, if they're intelligently designed, with marketing in mind, are going to have, when you start the game in the main menu, and when you end the demo, should have some sort of call to action prompt, etc. That is pushing for that wish list, newsletter sign up, etc. You know what I mean? So
what I'd like to see is developers push that follow thing. It's still something I don't really do, but I like to see them push the follow thing. And the solution to the Next Fest problem would be, let this be a launch party for demos, and then just don't take them down, right? That way people could be like, oh, and then just gather their list and they go and play through it. So
I do agree with you, Bumpy, that there has to be something kind of special for the festival, something exclusive, an announcement. If it's a brand new game reveal, great. You know what I mean? Like that's a great thing, that kind of thing and stuff. Something has to be. You don't just want to be in the festival for just to be in the festival, because actually that hurts you too. If you have an announcement, if you have some extra way to juice it, that's only going to support the gains and the benefits that you get from being in the festival, based on with the idea of wish lists, follows, etc. So Rupert, I definitely agree that Rupert says after the festival, say it is updated later, so that makes a lot of sense. It's just there's any choice you make may hurt one group of people or one situation, and it may be maybe nothing to the situation, or it may actually affect you negatively. You don't know. So it's just a thing that you have to play with. Demos in general, really touchy subject. I think even as of like 2-3 years ago, people were like, don't do demos ever. And now everyone's like, do demos. And the reason why it's changed, I think, is because of the competition quantity, not necessarily the quality. But there's so much. I mean, there's a ton of quality competition as well. But the quantity is just so high right now that it's better to have a demo and have someone. The fear was, well, if they play my demo and they get everything they want out of the game at that point, then they're not going to want to play anymore. Well, okay, then design a demo better first of all, like to have that element of leaving you wanting more, like hooking you, but not quite giving you the full satisfaction of what the game is about. But still, like, give them a taste, right? But at the same time, like, some people are, realizing now, like, look, it's about visibility. This is why we're on sale all the time, too, as much as possible. And Valve actually recently made a change to this. We could discuss this maybe within the hour. We'll see if we have time. But, like, we're on sale all the time, not just because of the additional revenue, which is there, and that is absolutely one of the reasons why we're doing it. But the other thing is because it exposes more people to the game, because more people will see the game because it's on discount. So they just understand that it exists, basically, through that process.
More people are willing to buy a game that is discounted than not.
And they say that you need to see, like, an average. I think we talked about this before in the past. Like, it's like something ludicrous. Like, the average person needs to see a game like 15 or 17 times before they purchase. So, like, it's like, being on sale all the time, you're gonna ring the bell a few times for people, right? To eventually there's a point of where they go, you know what, 6 times, then I'm gonna hit the wish list button at this point. You know what I mean? Like, and it sounds like arduous and terrifying, but yeah, that's definitely been indie dev for the last several years, and everybody kind of knows that. So that's kind of the work you're putting in to get out of it, and you're trying to get that snowball rolling at a really high level. So the Steam Next Fest definitely allows you, that one of those opportunities. You should see not say, oh, the Steam Next Fest is my solve. It's gonna solve everything. I think it's trying to say solve, but it's gonna solve everything. And it's not. I don't need to have. It's my magic bullet. I don't need anything else. No, it should be one of hopefully multiple platform holder supported events. So, like, when I mean platform holder supported, can you get in? Are you doing a console version of your game as well? If so, can you get some social media support from Microsoft and Xbox's accounts? Usually, that's very possible if you are able to get an Xbox release in the first place. Can you get into a Nintendo Indie World? Maybe. That's really hard. That's not really hard, but that's rarer to happen. And yet, like, that's something that if you have an established IP, if you have a veteran company, or if you have a game that you just know is dynamite, it's going to be a big hit. That's something you can go for and get, basically like support from multiple platform holders at different times leading up to your release. This is going to support you in a really massive way. And this is where I think a lot of the focus, when I think about my job and what I'm doing for Vertigo right now, that's where a lot of my attention lies, is to get the support from the places that sell the game itself, as opposed to, exterior support. And so the Steam's Next Fest is that kind of thing. And there's other events like that you can get involved in with Steam, that you want to keep your eyes out for, because those might be the things. But just real quick, there's a new discount change on everything now. So this is considering how Steam does, how they have events for post-launch games as well. So once your game is out, you could still participate in certain events, not like a Steam Next Fest, but like, co-op games festival or something like that. Like just making a couch co-op festival or something like that. That will have its own Steam. Yeah, that'll have its own kind of Steam landing page with the live streams and with discounts a lot of times. So you might be able to participate in those. And just like in the pre-launch, you'll be getting a lot of wish lists in addition to sales, which you will not obviously getting in pre-launch if your game isn't on sale yet. But you'll still be accruing more wish lists, which will then most likely, to some degree, pay off down the road. So it's just kind of a, see Steam Next Fest as one of those things where it's like a step, up the stairs, but there's more stairs to, you want to line up and then continue to step up and climb further.
And you said there was a change for the discounts, and that is you can no longer, I don't remember the exact days, but you can no longer participate in, put your game on discount for X number of days or whatever that ends. You can't do it again for X number of times except for the big four, which we established as the Lunar New Year sale, which is going on right now, summer and winter and autumn sales. So
yes. And so the specifics on that it's a pretty big change to what we were doing before. If you're someone who is the person who puts the discounts out on your Steam game, this is something that I do regularly, and this is something that a couple people in our company do, or at Indie Brothers do as well. So what's happening right now is that they've changed it from they gave us the good news first, and then they gave us the bad news. And because when I read the article, I was like, whoa, they're changing it. And it's like, I thought it was going to be sales bonanza at this point, but it's not the case. So what's happening is instead of a 6-week cooldown, they've reduced it to a 4-week cooldown as far as how much, how often you can put your games on sale. So you need to have 28 days essentially between the last day your game was on sale and the first day of the next sale, so to speak.
I appreciate the terminology there. That was good. Cool down. I like it.
Yeah, nice. And the big issue here is that this used to apply exclusively to custom sales events. So developer pushed sales that we can do, that we control, that we decide what the time is, date, and how long between 1 and 14 days, and the discount and all that kind of stuff. And that's still, the customs still exist, but the big change here is that this cooldown now applies to all sales and all events that have sales in them, promotions, except, as Bumpy pointed out, except for the lunar, summer, autumn, and winter sales. What that really functionally means is that you can no longer like pair sales with custom sales except for those 4. What I mean is that as a developer, like say this month, or say like
let's go with Halloween. That's what you're talking
let's go with Halloween's a good one because Halloween doesn't apply, and it's not considered one of the core 4 major sales, I guess, for Valve. So the way we would used to do it is we would go, okay, the Halloween sale we've been informed is October 27th through November 2nd or something like that. It's like a week long. So what I want to do is our next custom deal is around mid-October or maybe a little earlier than that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the amount of days between when I can start my sale in the middle of October, and I'm going to run it all the way up to that Halloween start of the sale. And so what that does is it makes the sale go on for, instead of maybe 1 to 2 weeks max, you could maybe be on sale for 20 straight days. That was a really big deal because you were just every single day you were getting a heightened amount of exposure in terms of page views, a heightened amount of wish lists, and a heightened amount of sales. If your game already had some traction in those departments, right? So now that's gone, except for when we have those core 4 sales. Is it a huge deal? Probably not. It's probably not the biggest deal in the world, but it does change things a little bit. it does slow our momentum in terms of, we can get all these sales kind of lined up and back to back and that kind of thing. And I think that was Valve's intention, is that they were like, man, these people like are just on sale more than they're not. And I think that they're just kind of putting their foot down about that. The counter from the indie side is like, hey, when we're not on sale, nobody's seeing us at all. Like, our views are so low when we're at full price, and this is, true for like 90% of the developer, people with games on Steam. I would say, I don't know if 90% is too high. It might be too low, to be honest.
I would guess it's too low. There's a thing that I've heard, a visibility token. Do you get like one of those a year? How does that work? Because that
visibility
usually
tokens
allows you to run like a custom sale, like a 48-hour one that you get front page-ish coverage on, right? Something like that.
It's not quite the same, actually. So the visibility tokens only put you in the recently updated section, which is constantly flaring off and on the Steam front page. Like, sometimes there's just no recently updated sidebar section, which it used to be constant. If you think back 2-3 years, 4 years ago on Steam, there was a section all the time on the front page that if you click through, you could see all these games that are using visibility tokens to put their updates about their update articles. You know what I mean? Like the update posts that you see on Steam. They move that into this list of of recently updated games. And so this was a nice way to, if you could pair it with a sale, like you could pair it with a custom, or of course if you could get Valve to say, yeah, we have an open slot for a daily deal or a midweek madness or a weekend deal. But that's cream of the crop. It's really hard to get those kind of deals from Valve. But either way, if you can be on discount at the same time as you're getting front page promotion, smart, right? Smart, like really smart stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's intelligent.
It seems
so.
Daisy Games Dev, hello, welcome to the stream, agrees. Yep, no discount equals no sales, no visibility. So
it just is. It is what it is. You know what I mean? And it's tough. And it's tough to have to deal with that. But that's why the Valve changes are kind of like, I'm a little, hesitant about them, because I'm like, oh, that's definitely going to slow things down. It's going to reduce the total amount of days in a 365 day calendar year that we can be on discount. So that means there's less amount of total days that we're going to be, at the acceptable level of visibility and sales.
I'll be curious to see how it plays out, because I'm sure Valve has some reason that they're doing this one way or the other. And like with so many sales, it almost gets to the point, if everyone's on sale all the time, it's like no one's on sale ever. So you want to make sure you don't tip too far the other direction. So hopefully, ideally, and I'm sure Valve also wants to continue to make money, the days you are on sale will pick up steam in a way that makes up for the lack of days. But
yeah, because it's
hard to say.
50% reduction between when you could put the sales up manually yourself anyway. So it might balance out, but you're right, it won't have that big chunk anymore.
And I think the big development for this is COVID virtual events on Steam. That this is the reason why this is happening now. Like why Valve has issued this thing kind of now, because I'm getting emails on the Vertigo side, maybe once every couple of months, about a new Steam event, a new Steam festival, a new blah, 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 a new Steam promotion. Steam, we're going to get Steam front page featuring. We're talking to Valve. We're going to get front page featuring. So this is happening at such a high rate now that Valve's like, we gotta curb this a little bit in terms of, how much you can participate, right? Like how often you can participate. So it does make sense to some degree. I do agree that if all of us could be on sale all the time and all of us realize that's the right thing to do, then eventually the
it would stop.
Measure becomes the target, right? Yeah. And the target is no longer, and the measure is no longer a measure. It's a target, and everybody goes to it, and it's not as effective as Bumpy was saying. So it's a thing that it's just a game you're playing right now. What we do to make money and get exposure 2 years from now might be completely different. Yeah. Like that, it's just how we're rolling right now, and you kind of have to roll with the market trends and how things are going. So it's intense. Yeah.
Sorry, Cup or a Tiny Disaster. Do you want to read what Daisy Games Dev threw out there?
Yeah, I'll read it. Okay, it might be good. This should allow us to do custom sales more often, which means we have more opportunity to promote them, e.g. Reddit, paid ads, etc. In my opinion, one issue with big events like Summer Winter Sale is that people are hungry for huge discounts and often go after AAA games. Yeah. Halloween Sale is also very thematic. Many games don't seem to participate because they don't fit into the Halloween theme. Yeah, so my counters to that, I'm not disagreeing like hugely with
anything. And I have one more thing to add to that, and then you can do your counter real quick.
Okay.
Also, for indie games or even just non-AAA games in general, you're on sale with hundreds, if not thousands, of other games. Your visibility really doesn't raise that much during those big sales. Anyway, so that was my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, and the thought there is that yes, but is the population of Steam is so much higher during some of those sales, so you have to think about that kind of I wouldn't. Here's what I'll say: ditching the Halloween sale probably ain't going to kill you because you get the autumn sale afterwards. You know, in the same month. Basically, you lose maybe a little bit of October revenue, but you could push a custom as mentioned in October. Skip the Halloween. And so that way you're playing the exposure game a little bit more. Or if you have two products, which I may try, I may put one in the Halloween sale and put the other one before the Halloween sale that has less total games in it, like for the discounts and the specials, and see which one pans out. You know what I mean? And say, okay, next year maybe I'll try both of them in this way or the other way. But the one thing that he said, that they said Daisy Games Dev is. This should allow us to do custom sales more often, which means we have more opportunity to promote them. That's true, except that custom sales are, like, to me, the lowest on the totem pole versus, say, one of those promotion or festivals that gets front page featuring. When I say front page featuring, I mean they give you a banner that leads to that kind of event page that you can be on with the streams, etc. that we talk about, basically the Steam Next Fest page style. And I just think that that's something that you have to kind of consider is that if something comes up, cancel your custom immediately and go with the bigger promotion. Go with the thing that actually is giving you front page featuring, because the general custom sales are going to be the lowest exposed, and going with Reddit ads and paid ads and things of that sort do not contribute as much as just getting direct like sunlight from Valve, essentially. You know what I mean? If you can get that direct sunlight directly from the source, that is usually like a magnitude better than anything that can come in from outside of it. So that's kind of what I'm thinking on that, is just make sure that as you get to do those customs more often, don't skip opportunities that may give you way better exposure during those periods. Try to work your customs around them as best you can.
So a question for you guys as players instead of as industry professionals. In terms of exposure and discoverability during sales, how much are you finding new things? Because I know for me personally, it's usually like, oh, what am I going to get off my wish list now? Versus I don't dig around a lot during sales. I dig around when I feel like playing something new, and then I'll stick it on my wish list.
Here's what I've gotten to, and I'll be quick about this, but here's what I've gotten to now is that I have enough games that I purchased that now when I go to sales, a lot of times the sales are when I wish list. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to make this $5 purchase this sale, but it's going to be $5 in the next 2 months or whatever. Like, I'm going to pick it up at that point. So that's an evolution. That's not something that I was doing a year or two ago. But my friendship with Bumpy, unfortunately, has married me to games in a way that I've not been married to games with in maybe ever. I paid, not unfortunately, but it is what it is. I paid for and bought and received freely so many games over the last couple of years that now it's like, all right, I'm not just going to purchase, even if it's at the right price sometimes, you know what I mean? Like, it's because I'm just not, if I'm not 100% sure about it, right? Like, if I'm not 100% sure I'm actually going to play it, I'll still say, well, I'll go with the wish list now, or, I always wish list something that, because if I don't wish list it, I might never see it again. So I think about that too.
Yeah, I usually will wish list things right away as soon as I hear about them. And I hear now I honestly get a lot of my info from either like the middleman sites like Keymailer and stuff like that, where they're like, hey, we have these new things. I'm like, oh, that looks interesting. And then I will wish list it, or on Twitter, following developers and other people like-minded like myself that have the same interest in types of games. But I do occasionally still go through like on a sale and go, oh, what's this? I haven't heard of this. Oh, look, it's 35%. Like if I hadn't heard of Hades, like, that's interesting, and I might click on it and then wishlist it like Cup does. So
Yeah, and you can always play that game because I'm an indie dev, I know, so I know I'm like they're probably thinking the same thing as I am. If this thing is at 25%, then in 6 months is it gonna be like 66% off for me, baby? You know what I mean? So sometimes, if I'm cheap and stuff, I play that game too. So like, if I'm like I don't have that much money right now for this stuff.
well,
So.
even games like or even big sales like the Lunar New Year's sale going on right now, there's going to be things that will show up that you might not expect that might make it to the first or the front page. Like one deck dungeon, never even heard of it, but it's players like you love this, and
Yeah.
it's 90% off. It's it looks like a simple, small, just fun little game, and who knows, that might appear to a whole bunch of people that have similar interests. So
Here's
you were
another, yeah.
saying, the bigger the sale, the bigger the splash. That's what you really want to hammer down on and focus your visibility tokens or not tokens, but put your sales in on the events.
Yeah. And here's what I think about as well with like the specials area. I'm like losing my train of thought. You just given me something. I just lost it. Sorry. I'll think of it. But we should probably move on anyway. We're at like 37.
I was gonna ask real quick. Was there anything else inside? Just quick numbers here. It says participating games saw a median increase of wish list of over 14 times. So it's a wish list jump of 1,364, and then you had other numbers. I'm not going to go dig through them, but somewhere down here says an increase of 500% in converting wish lists. So the wish lists that are made during the next festival also convert pretty decently, and the ones they get that like, oh hey, this is the thing, and then there's people that follow up and go, you know what, that the demo was fun, and they wish listed and go on from there. So it is a good thing. Any final thoughts with Steam's Next Fest?
I did remember what I was going to say. It's not exactly about Steam Next Fest, but the way we purchase games and things of that sort. The new thing I do as well is because there's so much quantity on Steam, there's also a lot of quality based on just the amount of quantity. It's just kind of how it works out. So when I go to the lists of $5 or less during sales, I'm just looking at the absolute cream of the crop of those games. And you can do that. You could absolutely just say, I want to filter to just have the top 100 most basically off of, you're going off of Steam user reviews, not necessarily, as Bumpy and I know, and Tiny Disaster know, not exactly, hugely reliable necessarily, but it's, I think, it's generally convenient to see who is reviewing these games like the most positively, or which games are getting the most amount of buzz and that kind of stuff. And so you can go and at least look at those games in a way that I feel like I don't have to swim through a ton of garbage, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like it's really nice. I can just go see what everybody else is saying is really good, and I'm saying, is this right for me then at that point? If everybody's saying it's good, it's just whether or not it's my kind of game at that point a lot of times.
Yeah, then you're like,
that's the way I
wish
listed as well.
It's one of those games, because you get that every once in a while. It's just
Steam
horrible
crazy,
garbage, and people are like, oh, this is the best game ever. Would chop off my own arm again. You're like,
But yeah, there's usually not a whole lot of deception though. Even in the bot, or what is it, the splash art, you could be like, or the capsule art, you could be like, okay, that's not what I'm going for.
I mean, it drives you toward it, and you look at it, and you're like, nope, and you just go on from there. Yeah, I agree. All right, so do you want to start with the most played, new releases, or top sellers for the best of Steam 2021?
Hold on one second. Let's go down.
I'm down.
I want to go
all three of these.
Bottom. I'm gonna go bottom up, I think.
Yep, I'm at the bottom of all three of these. So where do we want to start? Most played, new releases, or top sellers?
Wait, there's different ones? Wait.
Yeah, there's that thing spits you out into a bunch of different things.
But can we do top controller games first, or like that kind of thing? Like go all the way?
Controller the same article am I? You want to go there?
Okay. Well, I'm saying if we start really specific, I feel like we're going to get more interesting results. And then by the time we get to the general stuff,
it just kind of opens up. Controller friendly, best of VR, and maybe early access grads would have been the one that's interesting. The other two didn't seem that interesting, but yeah, we'll see. We'll go with it. They thought it was interesting enough to put on here. So
I was like, let's just run through it. Yeah. So we're gonna do most played controller games of 2021.
So yeah, controller friendly. Yeah, and I'm at the bottom.
And should we go bottom up? So go bronze to platinum.
Shockingly, we see Dark Souls there.
Dark Souls Remastered. Yep.
And Dark Souls 2.
Outer Wilds.
Ew.
I've heard a lot about that.
Who plays Dead by Daylight with a controller on a computer? Oh, that hurts my
Is that
soul.
a bronze? Or is it
it's bronze. It's near the
Fallout 4? Oh, I see it. Yep.
Oh, that hurts me.
Nobody can quit Halo on controller, of course. I've told you this. But I'm going to for you. I'm going to for you.
I showed you.
Valheim, even a lot of people are using controllers in Valheim, which is very interesting.
Too.
It's very bizarre, isn't it?
Now, I 100% get Dark Souls. 100%. It would be. I would really struggle with a keyboard on that, but
you know what this points to? I think a lot more people that would normally, be console gamers are moving to PC.
Because
this means. Yeah.
A lot of them are streamers and things now as well, so they are getting stuff on PC, and they're like, I can just use a controller, so it's easy.
And at some point, we all have had to admit, they're like, man, PC's a really good platform. Like,
but
it's
so
really
expensive
good
by comparison.
Right,
but you make up for it in sales, right?
And usually you don't. But like, it's like usually you don't have, say, as a gamer though, as a player, usually you don't have a computer specifically for games and nothing else. Like, it's usually something that's like a multitude of things, and obviously consoles have tried to catch up with that, like by putting like Netflix and stuff on their systems and such. Yeah. But like, it's not the same. It's not the same. Obviously, you can do more with a computer. It's a very obviously it's a Swiss Army knife compared to any of the consoles.
So do we want to run through these all of them, or how do you want to do this?
I'm just kind of scrolling up, and I like that we looked at them. We said what, and then we kind of made an observation. Right, we're saying, okay, this means that probably more console gamers are migrating to PC, because I think of great deals, streamers, as you mentioned, people streaming more. And so they're becoming a lot of people that maybe wouldn't have been connected to PC and PC games are doing that more now. And I think like things like Xbox Game Pass giving you access to the PC side of things, because Microsoft owns Xbox and Windows, so they're just sort of saying, okay, yeah, you can have these on two platforms. That makes a big difference. I would guess at least into that subsection of people that have that subscription as well.
Yeah.
Skyrim, Dragon Ball Fighter Z.
Yeah, fighting games I would see.
Sports
RPGs,
games. Sports games. Yeah. We're seeing like two different NBA games in the silver.
Driving.
Brawlhalla. A lot of people play Brawlhalla with controllers.
Oh yeah,
that's not too surprising. It's a.
We do even on PC. The only ones that are really surprising to me are like Dead by Daylight is just mind blowing to me, and what was the other one? There was something else that was just like what? Oh, like Valheim. That's weird to play on a controller for me. Like mentally, it's like what? So
Grand Theft Auto 5 obviously is going to be in every single platinum, but there's already if they can
see. I'm so bad with the controller shooting or I'm so much better with the mouse, I guess you could say, that when I play games like that, I drive with the controller, and then everything else I'm using the mouse and keyboard for, because you can't get that analog, right?
Yeah, let's jump into VR and see if I know any of these games. I might not know.
I'm just gonna go through real quick the Silver, Brawlhalla, Tekken, Witcher. Okay, that's what different. Do we know what differentiates these? Was there a thing at the top?
Yes. So
measured by daily active controller players. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Sports games, Sekiro, Destiny, shooters, Dark Souls 3 being the top. Yep, that makes sense. Out of that. And Tales of Arise. Yeah, that's pretty much what I would have gone. I don't know anything about VR other than Half-Life Alyx. I think is probably the best VR game made to date at this point.
That's what a lot of people will stand behind, and I'm not here to disagree with that, because I don't have enough information to say one way or the other. Really,
well, I think it's maybe the only actual AAA VR game made. Maybe. I mean, that wasn't just like retrofitted to VR, like Borderlands.
Right, because I'm seeing a lot of retrofitted games on here. We have Surgeon Simulator. We have the Talos Principle in the bronze area right now. Fruit Ninja. Fruit Ninja is a what would you call it? Like a brand. So like Fruit Ninja, like based off of its brand, has gotten to where it's at, like in this VR space. LA Noire, interestingly, the VR Case Files. Okay. That is like a Rockstar game, so interesting.
Some Sniper Elite, a little bit higher up.
Yeah, I'm in was it silver now?
Yeah.
Budget cuts. I've heard about budget cuts. A boxing game that makes a lot of sense. A couple boxing games actually.
I want to try Thief Simulator VR. That sounds terrifying.
What was that?
Thief Simulator.
Oh, Thief Sims.
Breaking into people's houses in VR.
That sounds
Oh,
great.
yeah.
No, I'm kidding. That is a bit weird. Cooking simulator VR. I bet that's pretty fun.
I've heard of Gorn, and it's interesting that it's a really big seller.
Yeah, this would be the number 2 game, Boneworks. Yeah.
We're in I'm in silver right now, and then moving up to gold here. Cooking Simulator VR. So I'm like, come on, let's do some Cook Serve VR, guys, like at a company. But
I don't know how that would work. You'd have to redesign. You'd have to design the game around that entirely. That would be rough.
Yeah, and the reason why I even have that idea is because I'm a businessman, and
Beat Saber makes sense.
Those Quest 2 sales. VR is all of a sudden, like, I'm not saying VR is like, oh, VR, but VR was like not really viable the last several years. We worked on VR titles, tried to help them sell. It was like, this is way harder than PC even, which PC is hard. Like, it's very difficult. So now with revenue. the Quest 2 is actually selling a lot. So that might change things. We'll see. Yeah, Half-Life Alyx and Beat Saber at the top. That's absolutely what you expect to see.
Boneworks would have been the other one that would have been up there.
Yeah. And super hot VR for sure. No surprise to see that. Arizona Sunshine has been a staple of top VR games for 5+ years now.
What is? I don't even know what that is. Is that just a zombie game?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. It's a action VR zombies multiplayer, and they apparently got it right, or well enough with the current form of VR that they really enjoy it.
I haven't heard of that one. I don't know. I'm still waiting until VR gets better. Like I'm not ready to jump on the VR bandwagon just yet.
Oh yeah, and I think a lot of people feel the same about that. It's interesting. Like right now, it's still in that phase where they're like popping up in like I went to the mall the other day, which I haven't been in a really long time, and there was just a VR two VR chairs where you would sit in it, put your VR thing on, and then do like a roller coaster or under the ocean, that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
To go with Beat Saber, I have sold 2 quests based on people came to my house, played Beat Saber, both asked for them for Christmas. Yep. That is the game that seems to convert people to VR.
I agree. Beat Saber is a very impressive game. I mean, for as simple as it is, it just looks like a ton of fun.
Sneaky good rhythm games. You know what I mean? They can be like, it could be system sellers. It's crazy. Yep. Thinking back to like the Rock Band Guitar Hero days and such. So let's go to top selling or top early access graduates.
It's good to see some of these on here.
Yeah, this is where it's going to get a little more interesting.
The Trial of Fire.
Not a ton of games here. Not a ton of games on this list.
Sands of Cells.
Okay, cool. So Fights in Tight Spaces is done by the guys who originally made Frozen Synapse and Frozen Synapse 2 and Frozen End Zone. So Fights in Tight Spaces is, I think, similar to kind of a super hot VR, but maybe a little bit more. Yeah, you can tell it's a Frozen Synapse. If you played Frozen Synapse, it definitely has that look to it. Yeah, Townscaper was that game where it's just like build a town, right? We've talked about that, I think. Yeah, that just super easygoing one. Yep.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I see there's a lot of games that I've covered that I've enjoyed on here
that's
already.
That's great. Riftlands, I've heard very good things about.
This is out of early access now.
Yeah, these are 1.0s at this point, but they're
Curious
recently.
Expedition, Edge of Eternities. One that I wish I had more time to play.
Did we talk about Hell Let Loose at any point? I can't remember. I've heard it plenty of times, but I can't remember if we ever talked about it. But yeah,
I don't think so.
GTFO has been like a top seller for a really long time as well. Like
the next one's got a lot of really good stuff in it too. Apparently, I play a lot of early access games. I guess.
Are we ready to go to most played?
I'm looking at the early access grades.
Early access grades. Okay, so most played and top sellers. It might be just super general, but we might want to do new releases next. Actually,
new releases, most played.
Yeah, because I think most played and top sellers are going to be really generic and obvious. Yeah, let's do new releases. Yeah,
sure. Bruce Lee
heading down
at the top. All right.
Oh, you can do top new releases by a month. We're not going to do that though.
So
Montage made the November list, so
It Takes Two and Deathloop. Yep, definitely 2 games that I've heard a lot about. Okay, never heard of Biomutant, but that looks kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's the combat's a little. It's not quite weighty enough, I feel overall, but it's still pretty good.
There's the new Nier game. I just saw New World.
Yeah,
we heard a lot about New World for a little bit of time. I think Bumpy covered that one.
Age of Empire 4. Yeah, they sent out a lot of stuff for like a closed beta, and then just didn't get back to most of those people for the release, which was fine. I didn't really have time for it anyway, so.
Back for Blood.
Outriders.
No surprise.
I can't wait to actually try that. Valheim, of course, is up there. All right.
Army Simulator 22. Nice.
Halo Infinite Season 1.
Valheim. Yep.
All right.
And yeah.
Are we ready?
And the new Resident Evil, the Village Resident Evil. Yep.
Are we ready for most played or top sellers? What do you want to go?
Let's do top sellers because I think most played is the more interesting of the two.
Okay. Top sellers. All the way.
So Valheim. Okay, well, let's go bottom. Yeah, exactly. I shouldn't just say the top ones.
Satisfactory and Sekiro.
Hey, a game Indie Brothers are associated with RimWorld. Good for us.
Or are they?
Good for us.
How far up?
RimWorld's in bronze.
Very far up in bronze. My goodness.
Actually, it's randomized. So the thing I'm looking at is different than the one you're looking at. They're only randomized, of course, within their category, right? Yeah. Because they don't want to say which one is actually like that much better than the other one, apparently. Yeah.
Half-Life Alyx is it's in bronze, oddly. Well, again, it's VR. That's actually tremendous.
I was going to say, that's tremendous.
I don't know why I said that. That was dumb.
I was going to say Beat Saber and Alyx are like the two VR movers, like the killer apps right now for the Planet Zoo. Looks really cool. It's at 75% off, actually. It
is pretty fun.
City Skylines. So that game continues to just be that's City Skylines being there is so inspiring. If you are a developer that can make a good city builder, it should be really, really inspiring because city builders are beloved.
Yep.
And most of the developers, and even at the highest level, do them poorly. And it probably indicates that it's a tough thing to get right. However, City Skylines has apparently figured that out, and it's still, I mean, it came out years ago, right?
Yep, so that was my first game that I got to work with Paradox on, so that was fun.
Yeah, so I mean, absolutely, that points to me, if you got a city builder in the hopper, get it right, and good things can happen.
Wait, what? This Naraka Blade Point is actually platinum? Really?
Which one? Let's see.
It's got Bruce Lee on it now, but I mean, wow. I know that came out. I think I even have access to it. I haven't actually redeemed it yet, but I was like, I don't know. And
so everybody bought Back for Blood, even though everybody was talking about how it wasn't good. Still, ton of people bought it.
So many people said Back for Blood was good. What do you mean?
Oh, I've heard it just both ways. I've heard people love it too, but I've just heard a lot of negativity as well. And again, we all exist in our circles and bubbles.
That's true.
And all that
I hadn't heard anything bad about it, but I also haven't heard much noise after it released either. So
exactly, and that's that. That's always the scary thing. That's the common thing you'll see in movies now is it's oh, they're gonna do Zoolander 2. Oh, they're gonna do Super Troopers 2. And if it doesn't go well, everyone's like, shh.
Yeah, there's nothing.
It's just so quiet all of a sudden.
All right, so not surprising. Counter-Strike, Grand Theft Auto, Dota 2. I'm surprised that PUBG still exists. Dead by Daylight's not surprising. Rainbow Siege 6 is a little surprising. I didn't know that was on Steam.
So you can see, like you said, PUBG, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, obviously.
The only real standout here is Valheim.
Siege. Valheim is just.
That's the only standout, I would say. Out of this. Everything else is kind of expected, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, but like you were saying,
Naraka thing.
If you're DayZ or Battlegrounds and you had your day in the sun, guess what? You're still making a ton of freaking money.
Yep.
Like, you know what I mean? Like years after your heyday. So there is something to, if you hit a certain viral level, you will, if you do the right things, you'll continue to benefit from that for years and years to come. Because that's kind of stupid to some extent. These are free to play games at this point. Most of the let's look at these.
Yeah, almost.
And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of the maybe half of them, you know what I mean, in platinum are free to play, and that means people are dumping crazy money in the in-app purchases. I mean, that if you think about it,
I know because it's top sellers. Yeah.
Yeah, because you think about how they're matching. $60 purchases or season pass purchases of you're thinking maybe a couple $100 a year minimum. People are making these, putting into this game. As measured by gross revenue, wow, Valheim being in the platinum is pretty crazy. Yeah,
even beyond that, though, even beyond, they don't necessarily have to spend that much money because you have to think free to play means there's a much larger population that are playing it, and then maybe having 10 million people spend $10 is better than 100,000 people spending $100.
And the other thing is that New World did its job apparently, because I didn't think it was going to be a platinum seller. You know what I mean? Like I didn't think New World had a run, but I didn't think it had that kind of run.
It's because all the top streamers decided they were going to do it, and that of course got the sheeple to follow.
That pop is all that you need. You know what I mean? Yep. And then Dead by Daylight still up there is pretty crazy. That had its heyday. So it's just
like it's a fine game. I still enjoy playing it, but it's
if you play it as your regular game over time, I think we all tried to do that. And it's just not as deep as you'd like it to be. If it's a party game ultimately, then that's what we do with it now at this point. It's basically like a get together and have a good time with your friends kind of game. That's the best version of Dead by Daylight to me in my current iteration.
Yeah, going online and playing is not enjoyable.
We did that yesterday with 3 of us, and it was like, man, you just can't control the killer making decisions that just really make the game less enjoyable. And it's up to if you're going to make it up to the player that's in control of most of the game to be, to be just with his play or their play. It does not happen 9 times out of 10.
All right.
So
let's get into the most played and let's see. A Tiny Disaster. Is there any of these games that you play? Because I see you're going for a 100-game challenge on Twitter, and I don't know exactly where you're at. I think it was like 7, but you might be at like 12 or something now.
I think Duskers was like 8 for me. I've played a lot of Duskers in the last few days.
Did you beat Duskers? Or does that sound possible?
Duskers is you just go until if you haven't died in since the last time you can remember, then that's beating Duskers to me.
Yeah. I survived for a year in game as of today, so that's
awesome.
Maybe it's time for me to move on.
It's crazy.
No, I mean
it's better than I do.
When you start playing with the swapping universes and you're like, I'm gonna go through this wormhole, but then I'm gonna come back. It's crazy. So yeah, anyway, over 30,000 peak players is the bronze. We see Deep Rock Galactic. That one picked up a ton of steam in a way that Loop Hero got up to that amount of people. So that's insane. I know Bumpy is why, but I'm like, that's crazy, right? Like that many people, 30,000 peak. That's a sheeple. Content creator push for sure.
Exactly.
Raft. I'm not surprised to see Raft up there. People love the Raft. Hunt Showdown, no surprise to me. Big Hunt fan.
I would expect it to be a little bit higher than.
I'm surprised it even got there actually, because it was when you introduced me to
it's feast and famine, right? That one.
Oh, when you introduced it to me originally, it was the best kept secret thing, and I still think it's trying to shirk that. You know what I mean? Shrek that.
Shrek. So anything in bronze that you're familiar with or have played a Tiny Disaster?
Honestly, not a ton. I've played some of the big ones, but this is definitely. I knew it was going to happen. I was going to say at the beginning if I can get through this chat without adding anything new to my wish list that I'm going to buy immediately, I will be very impressed. But,
so Brawlhalla,
there's a lot more I need to play.
So it is what you said, Bumpy. Brawlhalla is filling a niche because it's a PC Smash Brothers, and it's the best version of it apparently because everybody's playing it. Project Zomboid is on there, which is again a testament to a long, slow building early access game that got a pop. It really had its big pop. What was it? 7 years ago, 6 years ago, kind of thing. And they're still benefiting from that. Well, and then they released their multiplayer update, which has caused a huge surge in their sales. They got 27 times their regular discounted sales, they said, in the week that they did the update.
But they're continually upgrading the game and updating it. It's kind of like Tales of Magi situation, right? So
if the games is a service thing, you want to keep offering the players new things to interact and that kind of stuff.
I think I'm most surprised about Left 4 Dead 2 somehow.
It's still up there,
hitting 30,000 peak players.
Here's what I'll say about that.
Because of Back 4 Blood, I imagine.
I think it's that. I totally agree with that, by the way. I didn't think about that. I think it's that, and that Left 4 Dead 2 has actually had new content in the last 2 years. After a 5-year or plus hiatus or even more. 7 Days to Die is on there. We'll be playing that on the stream today, plugging it. What else?
Did you move out of bronze, or is it there?
I'm still in bronze. It is in there somewhere. 7 Days to Die. It was a really tiny one. It's next for me. It's next to RimWorld. So shout out. We have a game. We have a game that's in the top. Whatever. We touched the sun.
I just don't see it. That's weird.
Over 60,000 peak players. Cookie Clicker. I know Party Commissar loves that game. A friend of ours.
Terraria is still going strong this far in, but they did
Stardew Valley, and Terraria is still doing updates. I think Terraria is one of those games that may have even changed hands.
I thought Terraria stopped doing updates like 4 years ago. I remember they were like, "This is the last update," and then
it might have been a Left 4 Dead situation or 2 situation where the community clamored for it so much that they maybe either did it themselves or they handed it off to some other company that was like, "Let us do the updates." Let us do the updates kind of thing, you know?
Final Fantasy 14 would actually be higher than the silver if they could actually sell all the games and have people log into it.
Yeah, that's true. Like they reached the limit with their servers
too. You have to remember this is only through Steam. I think the majority of the players aren't even on Steam. They're either on console or they're maybe directly through the Square Enix website. A lot of people are like, "Don't get it on Steam," and I'm like, "Eh."
Other indies that have like punched through the ceiling in an incredible way, Binding of Isaac and Don't Starve Together, both are just like Binding of Isaac is like a Steam like staple. So it's weird to describe it. It's one of those games that is synonymous with Steam in the best kind of way for that developer. Don't Starve Together is just gained momentum. I think even more and more. Even though it had such a great launch, I think they kept working on that game. Absolute breadwinner for that studio, which I believe is Clay.
Yep, it's Clay.
Yeah, and they have Clay is a development studio with a series of breadwinners. Don't Starve Together is above it all.
Oxygen Not Included is fantastic as well.
They have a ton of good games.
Yeah.
And they produce more and more. Like every time they put out a release, it's like you can't. It's like a can't miss kind of thing. Like I said, in terms of at least trying it and seeing if it's something that might take you.
What in the world is Tale of Immortal, and how in the world is that a 100,000? Well, I guess maybe it was Chinese, and that's why I don't.
Yes,
I never even heard of that.
Yeah, it totally looks like it's we're seeing some international flair now.
Yeah.
This game definitely was released on. It looks like in Steam China. And it's being included on this list, and I think it's included on the list because they have an English version at this point, probably. Yeah,
it's good to see Arc is still kicking too.
Arc doing well. Team Fortress 2, Among Us obviously is
Tigers
a huge like whoa
favorite
like
over here. Path of Exile.
Path of Exile is like a top. Yep, no surprise there. But yeah, Among Us being in the over 100,000 peak players with this group, obviously they broke. I saw when I was in Florida, I actually was in a tiny arcade and they had a bunch of Among Us plushies. I'm like, whoa, that is like, whoa. Like if you're an indie developer, like, you know, that is so beyond, you know what I mean? Like that's like kind of Minecraft-ish. You know, I don't think that they're like, you know, necessarily that high in terms of total revenue, but their reach, at least.
I know they also had issues with like rip-off plushies.
Yeah, that's
quite a bit throughout the.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about that. By the way, when you're that popular, you're going to have people trying to rip you off. That is guaranteed, for sure.
Well, it's funny because I know someone who like on Twitter is always selling plushies for all these different things, and I'm like, that doesn't seem legal. And then they're like, please never tag us with the developer and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, it's totally not legal. I got you. Good.
My moral dilemma is when like I want like a shirt for an indie game I love, and then they never made merch. And then somebody like made some weird thing on Etsy, and I'm just like,
Yep.
I want to get it.
Now, here's an impressive thing. It's Rocket League is here, and it has been sold on Steam for years now, I believe. A few years at least. It's now Epic exclusive, so...
But it's the most played because people just own it, right, via Steam and stuff, and so it still has that inroad, right? Like of even though it cannot gain any more players, so it should be slowly dying, as you would think, Bumpy. But like because so many people own it on Steam already and play it, it keeps it going. So the top ones I like that it's a tight like list because it makes sense to because it's over 200,000 peak players. It turns out not that many games are hitting that level. But the surprise for me Cyberpunk, like, what a guilty pleasure. Are you kidding me? Nobody talks about this game anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I think that is crazy.
Whoa, it's
to
already
me
50% off. Oh my god.
That's so crazy to me that it has over 200,000 peak players. To me, that is
well
maybe it crested.
Hold
it
on.
crested,
It
right?
released on December 9th of 2020, so that's literally within a month. It might have
maybe
hit that.
crested in January. That's right. That's true. To me, I was almost like, my head was about to explode. I was like, are 200,000 people still playing currently, playing Cyberpunk?
I can't fathom that's the case anymore. Just I don't think there's that many people playing Valheim anymore.
Yes, that's been there's still a lot of people probably, but compared to how many in relative terms were playing when it popped is what we're talking about. It's not close.
Oh, nice.
Guaranteed.
Tigers fans gonna get some new stuff if he's able to not get fully addicted again and be sitting there scratching his arm going, "Must Path of Exile." He goes full crazy over that game. It's interesting, but I lose interest in games like that too quickly for me to be able to enjoy one as deep and long as robust as Path of Exile.
So here we have a nice mix of free to play versus purchase games, but most of them actually free to play: Dota 2, Halo Infinite, PUBG Battlegrounds, Counter-Strike, Global Defense Offensive, and Apex Legends, which we haven't mentioned because it's just like I feel like Apex Legends is like
that's weird. I don't have that on my list. Huh.
On the over 200,000 peak players?
Nope.
Interesting.
It's not there for me. It's New World for me.
I have New World as well. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 total games in the 200,000 section.
2, 5. I've got 8. You got 10?
Yeah, weird. Canada. Blame Canada.
I've lost the tab, but I'm trying to find it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10.
Blame Bumpy, Canada.
Blame me. Gosh.
Yeah.
This isn't fair.
I don't know why. Why that wouldn't show up. This should be the exact same.
I know. All right. What are the other two? You said there was Apex Legends.
Apex Legends. You have Counter-Strike Global Offensive.
Yep.
Do you have PUBG?
I do.
Rust?
I don't have Rust. I think I probably have both of those ignored, and that's probably why.
Oh, yes.
Because they were recommended me 1,000 times. I'm like, no. I think that's why.
I think that's weird that they don't show up though on a list like this. That's just so weird. I guess because you're logged in, Steam's just like, Rust. Look, you told us.
Which I don't remember getting.
That's so funny. What is going on? That's so weird that they keep you
I'm pretty sure Apex Legends is ignored. Yeah, it's ignored for me, 100%. I will never play that game.
It's not my style. Like the current times. What was the Overwatch? But then before that, Team Fortress. Like it's the arcadey shooter.
Well, it's even beyond that. It's the battle royale shooter. I just
battle royale.
I'm pretty sure that's a battle royale. Like the whole concept and premise of that. It just it's not for me. Well,
I have never played Fortnite, so.
Do you guys do you guys have a game of the year for 2021?
I'm not sure how many actual 2021 your games I played.
Yeah, your favorite game.
If we're gonna go off of the analytics, I know Hunt Showdown was my #1 game played of 2021.
But that released earlier though. Do you remember a new game that was 2021? Released?
I'm looking at my list that I played. I loved River Bandits. I thought that was a really clever couch co-op game and it's an online co-op as well, or not co-op, but multiplayer. Pummel Party did not come out this year, and it actually has a few bugs with it that do bother me. That does bother me a bit. I'm looking at the games I played, actually played kind of consistently, at least so I can make a good call on it, because I don't want to just say, oh, this game sold really well, so it's this one.
Oh, I know what it is for me. I just remembered. I really, really liked. Come on, hone in. It's I know it. I played it. Dang it! All right, I know what it is. I just need to figure out what the name of it is.
Deep Rock Galactic, I enjoy. I would not say it was my favorite game. It did not come out, I don't think, this year.
No, that's a much older game.
It was on the list though. It was listed.
It's not King's Bounty 2. It's the other one that released. Why can't I remember what it is?
A shout out. I mean, these are honorable mention shout outs and stuff. I don't know what my favorite one is, to be honest. But shout out to Luck Be a Landlord. That was a surprisingly enjoyable game to me. It's a good synergistic slot machine game. Very fun.
Disciples Liberation was it for me. That was, I think, my
Disciples
2021.
Liberation.
That was my 2021 game of the year. For
New
me.
Jackbox was aight. That's all right.
It was aight. Look, they have a demo.
I just realized, like, there's so many games now that a lot of the times I buy games, they've already been released for over a year.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
There's times where
I
I'm
feel
like,
the pandemic years in particular, I was playing like old comfort games far
Yeah.
more than I was diving into things.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a mix over the last year comparatively to the earlier going where it's just like give me the dopamine and the nostalgia.
Did you
and all that stuff.
A Tiny Disaster? Did you say you played Townscaper? Was that one that you played?
Yep.
And you said you really enjoyed it. I don't know if you consider that.
Yeah, it wasn't like a play a lot of times because it's not really a game. It's like it's a toy more than there's not really a goal or anything. You just get to build with blocks. It's nice and calming.
Okay. Well, I think that's pretty much it. Any final thoughts?
Just to wrap up, Steam continues to be like, numero uno when it comes to PC platforms, basically you could argue basically platforms in general. There are other things and other options and other platforms that you would probably want to think about in addition to Steam, but Steam 100% needs to be like, part of your plan if you have a standard traditional, PC release, in mind. You can see that from the Steam Next Fest, and you can just see from the opportunity to reach ridiculous heights. Now, is that going to happen most of the time? No. But the whole point of game dev and spots like Steam is that there's no ceiling. If you take off, it can get into some crazy numbers. Whether that's your bag or not, you can kind of control that. Some people actually don't want to sell to that level. You know what I mean? Because that can be a life-changing and really turbulent ways that you may not be looking for. You want to make enough to get by or be, semi-wealthy, but not so much that you're having to make gigantic decisions like I think the Among Us developers, for instance, have had to make over the last year or two. Decisions that they probably never even thought that they would have to, deal with, etc. So it's just interesting platform. We've been with it, since going back to as far as development is concerned, back to like 2009. I've had a Steam account since like 2004, something like that. I don't know. I can't remember how long ago it got going, but it was in like the early 2000s, right? That Steam was establishing itself like big time. So,
August 28th, 2004 is how long I've been on Steam. God, that's 17
Can you look?
years.
Where did you see that?
Go to your profile. It's top
profile?
right under the level.
Yes.
If you have the years of service thing, I don't know if that's automatic or not.
Let's see.
While we're looking for this, I'm curious if you guys have any guesses. This time next year, what are you going to be saying is your top game of 2022?
Getting through the next 2 to 3 months, I have no idea because there's so many things coming out.
Nothing you're most anticipating?
There's just so many things coming out. I have no idea.
Let me take a look real quick because there was.
I will say that I do have a front runner right now, but I, of course, have been
Is it Elden Ring coming out this month?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I think it's the end of this month. Yeah.
Yeah, Elden Ring. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be my favorite, but I know that Elden Ring has a chance to be, tops.
My front runner right now is Expeditions Rome because it's out now. I've played it and it is incredibly good. So. The developers that do that, I believe it's Logic Artists and THQ Nordic, I believe, published it. They continue just to move from strength to strength. They started with Expedition Conquistadors, Expeditions Viking, and now Rome. And Rome is it's just so good. For a strategy fan, turn-based strategy fan, it's up there with like Divinity Original Sin 2 for me. So that's my front runner. But there's so many coming out.
There's actually like this month is considered like a hellscape if you're an indie developer. Like you're supposed to avoid it like the plague in terms of making major announcements. It's sort of
March is just as bad, and April might even be almost as bad.
It might be, but they say the true bloodsuckers are this month, as in like the attention-seeking games that will take everyone away from you entirely. Like there's 4 games that they've named like for
I think
February.
there's 3
you're like,
Square
oh my
Enix
gosh.
games coming out in March.
Yeah, it's gonna be a real, like, you have to find your opening over the next few months. And hey, I know how it goes because we have an announcement coming up in March, April, and I gotta get it figured out. So
As late in April
it's
as you
gonna
can. Do it.
it again. If we get a big partner to support us, we'll do it when they say.
That's true.
You know what I mean? But if we have to do it on our own, you know what I mean? You got to find the right time to do it for sure.
There's a Marvel's Midnight Suns game coming out. That's a tactical turn-based one. That might only be on PlayStation. It might be on PC. Can't remember. That's going to be probably pretty big. There's 2 different Final Fantasy games coming out. One is a Dynasty Warriors-esque Persona Strikers, that type of game, where it's Koei Tecmo and Square Enix combining and putting it in a world of Final Fantasy. That should be a ton of fun. I'm looking forward to that one. Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster is supposed to be due out this month, but I don't think they've launched the latest date. That
gets me excited. Nostalgia right there, for sure.
I mean, it's just, there's so many more. Dying Light 2 comes out tomorrow, and sadly, I think I'll be missing that one, but that's okay.
It feels like we're in the era now where all these games that are coming out too you can't phone in these games anymore. Like, people are not going to spend a lot of money to make bad games. So you're getting a lot, like, at this level, right? So you're getting like all these AAAs that you mentioned, all these sequels, they're really good. It's like, oh no, they're good. Like, you know, it's like Game Pass was huge for me because I would have never got to play Rainbow Six Extraction, which I would have been like, I don't care about Rainbow Six, whatever. I never heard, you know, I mean, I've heard
I don't
of it,
think I played a
never
Rainbow
played
Six
it.
game before either. I was just, I've been very fortunate that Ubisoft takes care of me.
Right, and I played it and I was like, this game is so clean. It's just very, very clean game. Like, I like it. I love playing it.
NIS America's got some stuff coming out. There's what's it? I think Craig Stern's releasing his remake of Telepath Tactics. It's not Liberation, maybe it is. Never remember the name of it. So that's gonna be fun. That was like my 2015 game of the year.
Telepath Tactics.
Yeah. So yeah, Liberation.
Nice.
He's redoing it in a new engine, and he's tweaked some stuff, added extra difficulties, redid the artwork a little bit.
But you're saying
it's come
the
out
original
March.
Telepath Tactics was your favorite, and then this is the Liberated is the new one? Is that right?
It's gonna be.
Cool.
It's just basically a remake. There was some engine problems with the last one. Like when you got to the late game, everything slowed down really, really badly. There was like I don't know if it was memory leaks or what exactly, but it got real laggy and slow. But yeah, he redid some of the writing. He's done a bunch of work on it, and it's due out on March 14th. So,
but Tiny Disaster, yeah, I guarantee you, Tiny Disaster, that there are going to be at least like a dozen indie games that we've never even heard of that we'll be discussing this time. Hopefully in January, actually. Hopefully in 11 months, not 12 months. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah, we got sidetracked, we got delayed, and then we got Discord killed. So that is what
sounds like a normal episode. Sounds like a normal episode on the stream, to be honest. It just happened to we couldn't get it going.
All right, so next week, assuming everything goes well, we're shifting. We're gonna try if we can find enough information about this because this is something that none of us are 100% sure about. Like where you can go, how you can build a team around you. We already talked about, knowing your strengths and weaknesses and finding and hiring people to do the jobs well that you might not be able to do. But how do you go about finding that? That's one of the things I was, that I thought of maybe we could talk about. But again, I don't really have a point of reference or know anything. So this is going to be more a cup thing.
Yeah, we may not get into too many specifics as opposed to what you should be doing to find the people that you need to, right? Like as opposed to this is the website or this is it's not going to be like that necessarily. It's going to be more about like how you should be thinking about it. How, from your perspective, how like what do you need to be satisfying, obviously on the, value technical front, etc. And, there's other things to keep in mind as well. Yep. So we'll talk about that next week.
And if we have time, if we can't do that as a full episode, I thought of a second one that we can slot in later. If not, how to pitch your game to a publisher or something along those lines. That might be an interesting thing because you should be able
For
to talk
sure.
about that.
Yeah, and we can talk about the idea of putting together a pitch deck, all that kind of stuff. That might be its own episode, or
Yeah.
we can at least tease a little bit of it and then do a full episode for it and another date as well. We've done that before, and that works out just fine as well. So whatever's good. It's good to have some ideas in the hopper.
So, any final thoughts before we say goodbye and see everybody next week?
No, I'm glad we're back though.
Yep.
Yeah.
Me too. All right, folks. Take care of yourselves. We'll be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. We're trying to stick to a little closer to an hour-long format, but we did drift a little bit away from that this time. But an hour to an hour and a half is the goal. So hopefully that works for everybody. And yeah, take care. We'll see you next week.